Shalom ve'yom tov. Hi and good day. It's time once again for your Hebrew lesson. The name of our Torah portion for this week is Va'et Chanan, which means, and I pleaded. Open your Jot and Tittle Sefer to page 46. Follow along with the Hebrew in your Torah scroll as I read Deuteronomy chapter 3, verses 23 and 24. Let's begin. Va'et Chanan el Adonai ba'et hahi la'amor. Adonai, Adonai, ata hahilot leharot et avdecha ve'et gadolcha ve'et yadcha hahazaka. The translation of this verse is, and I pleaded to Adonai at the time, saying, Lord, Lord, you have begun to show your servant your greatness and your strong hand. In our opening, let's begin by first looking at line 3 from the Torah scroll. If you remember, I said, Adonai, Adonai, ata hachilot. The first word in line 3, Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud, is the exact spelling of the Hebrew word Adonai, which means Lord. Now, the second word is the Yud He Vav He, to which we pronounce Adonai. Therefore, when you heard me say Adonai, Adonai, for the beginning of line 3, it was because first was printed Adonai in Hebrew, meaning Lord, and then Yud He Vav He, which we pronounce as Adonai. Similarly, in line 1, Va'et Chanan al Adonai, the Yud He Vav He is pronounced as Adonai. Next, let's consider for a moment the pronoun you. This is something that I introduced during the lessons in Bamidbar. We're going to continue with this study through the book of Devarim also. Last week, we remembered that a bet in front of a word means in, a vav in front of a word means and. Do you also remember that hey in front of a word means the, or mem in front of a word means from? Well, just as important as it is to recognize these prepositions at the beginnings of words, it is equally as important to learn to recognize pronouns at the end of words. Oftentimes, when you have a chaf sofit at the end of a word, it is the pronoun your. This is not always true because there are Hebrew words that end with a chaf. However, many times you can dissect the word by looking at the pronoun at the end of the word or at a preposition at the beginning of the word. We have 3 examples in our lesson for today. The first one is the last word in the 4th line, avdecha. It means your servant. The Hebrew word ein vav dalet or avad means worker or servant. When you add the chaf sofit at the end of the word worker, it means your worker, masculine singular. Avdecha, your servant. Also, in the last line, we have 2 more words that have a chaf sofit. The first one is gadolcha, which means your greatness. The Hebrew word gimel dalet lamed gadol means big or great. When we add a chaf sofit to the end, we are making it say your greatness. Gadolcha. And the second word from the end, yadcha. It means your hand. The Hebrew word yud daled, yad, means hand. Therefore, when we add a chaf sofit, yadcha, it means your hand. One last thing I would like to point out from our Torah scroll before we move to the related words is that the word hachazakah, or strong, is written after yadcha. So, in Hebrew, we also are going to remember to look for patterns of adjectives following the nouns. Instead of saying ha-chazaka yadcha, which would mean the strong, your hand, we're going to put the adjective after the noun. Yadcha ha-chazaka, your hand, the strong. Adjectives in Hebrew always follow nouns. Let's look for a moment at the related words. The first word, chanan, means gracious. This is actually a quite popular name for boys in Israel. Chanan, gracious. The next word is our verb for today, the name of our portion, et chanan, which means implore or to beseech. Chen, the next word, means favor, grace, or beauty. Chinam means free, or for nothing, for no charge. The next phrase, to find favor in the eyes of, is pronounced motzei chen ba'anei. And last, quoting from Exodus chapter 34, verse 6, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, Adonai El Rachum Vechanun. In closing today, let's read together from the Torah scroll Deuteronomy chapter 3, verses 23 and 24a. See if you can follow along. Let's begin. Va'et Chanan El Adonai Ba'et Hachi La'amor Adonai, Adonai, Ata Hachilot, Leharot et Avdecha, Ve'et Gadolcha, Ve'et Yadcha HaChazaka. Tov meod, very good. I look forward to seeing you next week. Continue practicing reading your Hebrew and see if you can find more pronouns in your Hebrew text. Many blessings and lahitrot. Bye.